Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, educators far and wide. Joining us on this lovely afternoon, I welcome you. My name is Homoto. I represent Macmillan, and we will be bringing to you this afternoon the Creating a Reading Culture in Foundation Phase Classrooms workshop. Now, this wonderful presentation will be brought to you by our expert, Dr. Heather Nadia Phillips. Please join us. Thank you for coming in, one and all. As you are coming in, logging in, we're hoping that all your sound and all your tech is clear so that you will enjoy this wonderful workshop with us today. And please do make sure that you take all the notes throughout this wonderful session, because it's going to be definitely informative. I'd like to just make you aware of a few technical points before we start proceedings. You will see in your Teams view, there is a chat space. You're welcome to drop questions throughout the session. We will be making sure to cover as many questions as we can right at the end if we have time. But if we don't, we will make sure to get back to you once the workshop has concluded. Now, before I hand over to our wonderful presenter this afternoon, we'd just like to remind you that we're very pleased to be bringing to you this wonderful workshop by Macmillan, and we hope that you do enjoy it. Now, once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Dr. Heather Nadia Phillips is a postdoctoral research fellow in the Research Doctorate at CPUT. 2025 marks 45 years of teaching experience for her, having held positions of deputy principal and principal at a primary school for 36 years, as well as lecturer of under and postgraduate programs in the education faculty of CPUT. Now, Dr. Phillips's research expertise falls within teacher education, focusing on quality, professional development, pedagogy, critical thinking, and literacy. Her core responsibilities include publishing research articles, reviewing journal articles, supervision of postgrad students, literacy training to develop critical thinking and reading for meaning in schools nationally, and the development of seminars focusing on research methodology. Dr. Phillips is the project director of the Sisonke Supervision Mentorship Program, an institutional project aimed at developing postgrad supervisors, and assisted in the planning and implementation of the program since 2021. Dr. Phillips currently supervises 3 doctoral students and 4 master students. She has published more than 15 journal articles and 2 book chapters. Now, that is a mouthful for a bio, but that is because Dr. Phillips is an expert. Good afternoon, Dr. Phillips. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Hamotso. You are so beautiful. Thank you so much. It only sounds grand. Don't worry. It's just a daily job. And also welcome to all our participants here today. It's absolutely marvelous to share a platform with colleagues that I know are really interested in making a difference in the classroom, or you would not have been here today. So that's fantastic. Okay, Hamotso. Can I go ahead?
Take it over.
Okay.
Over to you.
So thank you, colleagues, like I said, for being here. It is always awesome to, I hope, can you hear me, Hamotso?
Yes, your sound is great.
Okay, thank you. So today we are going to try and get to grips with what we can do to change the culture in our classrooms. And really we're looking at a reading culture, and particularly in the foundation phase, dear colleagues. Now, I have to tell you, I taught in the foundation phase for many years before I went into the intermediate phase. So I also have experience of being with that little ones, and I know it can be quite daunting. But teachers, what we should focus on is the PILS, the progress in international reading literacy study in that results. Because, you know, teachers, what worries me is that the Pearls results speaks about literacy levels and reading for meaning. And they test for comprehension and many other aspects. And this test is done every 5 years. Now, in 2016, when they did this test, and remember it's an international test across the world, when they did this test in 2016, it was found that 78% of our grade 4s, 78% of our grade 4s could not read for meaning. They could not even answer the basic level 1 questions. And then, of course, in 2021, the tests were done again. Oops, what happened? The tests were done again. And the results in 2021, believe it or not, yes, I know it was COVID, etc. But the results in 2021, which just came out at the end of last year, is that 81% of South African grade 4 learners cannot read for meaning in any language, teachers. Now, that should shake us up a bit and say, what are we doing wrong? Or what is it that we are not doing? How are these reading, how are they measuring these reading levels? Now, we know that generally we look at decoding, we look at fluency, we look at comprehension, we look at vocabulary, meaning, etc. But our results say that out of every 10 learners in our schools, 8 of them cannot do what they're supposed to do, are not at the level of grade 4 reading. Now, that should tell us something. And I applaud Macmillan and I thank Macmillan for taking up the reins and inviting and providing this platform where teachers can come and learn a little bit more, and where we can possibly motivate you and inspire you to really make the change at the grassroots level that's in your classrooms. So a very big thank you to Aletta and Khomotso and Ricky for allowing me to do this presentation after I gave you all the bad news, teachers. But let's go ahead and see that the reason for us saying that reading is so important is because, firstly, it is the foundation for success. We know that strong reading skills are essential if we want our learners to be successful in later grades, and not just in reading, but across the curriculum. That is the value of reading. So if our level of reading is low, what chance do our children have of actually being successful as they move through the system? Then there's the cognitive skills. Reading strengthens our cognitive skills like memory, very important, critical thinking, and problem solving, my dear teachers, very important. So, as teachers, we are fully aware that learners who struggle to read and to understand what they read are going to struggle in science and maths and geography and life skills and everything else. And that is why we need to develop reading so that we develop language. Our reading will enhance vocabulary and language comprehension. And our young learners, they need to be exposed to new words, to sentence structures, to language patterns, to vocabulary like scientific vocabulary, to mathematics vocabulary, to new words in all of those subjects, because that is going to contribute to their overall language development. Secondly, we need to ensure that through reading they become creative and critical thinkers, because books stimulate creativity and critical thinking. It gets the learners to explore different perspectives, to look at the issues in books and try to solve the problems, to imagine new scenarios. And that word imagine is so important. Teachers, our kids need to get involved in books so that they can imagine, because that's their creative spirit. And of course, all of that will help them to develop cognitively. But also, reading will support their social and emotional growth. You know, teachers, we sometimes, in life skills, we have little stories about possibly emotional issues or social issues children go through. These are the kind of stories that help our children to really understand and to be able to empathize with different situations, able to get used to feeling different emotions. And this emotional connection can also further develop our learners' social skills. And you know, many of us, our kids do not have the needed social skills today. But we can develop that through our reading. Then also, we have to ensure that through our reading, we teach our learners about inclusivity and to embrace the diversity within our country. So, through reading, we then get them to understand different cultures, different experiences, different viewpoints, and we broaden their understanding of the world. And we then are also teaching them about inclusivity. So teachers, I want to show you some famous quotes that emphasize the impact of reading on a child's development and also speaks about the role that it plays in shaping that child's development. So here's some of the famous people. You've all heard about Maria Montessori. You've heard about Montessori schools here. And Maria Montessori said the greatest gift we can give our children are the roots of responsibility and the wings of independence. Reading provides both of these. Then Malala Yousafzai. Malala is an education activist. She's actually the youngest Nobel Prize winner. At the age of 17, she fought against the prohibition of education for girls in Pakistan. And she said, one child, one teacher, one pen, and one book can change the world. And of course, the famous Dr. Seuss, who says, the more you read, the more things you will know. The more you learn, the more places you'll go. So I want you to be inspired by these different quotes from people who were steeped in reading and language development. So let's look at, why do we think our children struggle to read? Could be that they have limited experiences with books, because we know many children do not have books at home, because learners have to share books, because seldom we allow kids to take books home, teachers. We need to move away from that ownership of the books that we have. If it's the school's books, we need to share it with our learners. Please, I'm asking nicely. But there's also poor phonemic awareness. There's too much emphasis on sight words and learning especially in where English is not a home language. We learn a new language too early. and we are not able to set the foundations as well as we should. And then, believe it or not, some research said there are foundation-phase teachers who do not know how to teach reading. Teachers, if you come from an teacher education institution where you were not taught how to teach reading, then it's not entirely your fault. But then take the brave step to saying, I am going to change this. And go to these workshops and read up and do your research. You will probably end up being a brilliant teacher of reading. And then we also use inadequate literacy teaching strategies. We don't use proper teaching strategies for our reading. The poorest schools are text poor, and there's a lot of wasted learning time during the school day. But also, there's a lack of self-motivation. There's a lack of reading interest. There's a lack of parental involvement. And there's a lack of a positive attitude when it comes to language development. And while screens may have become the portal for information, and maybe because we say the landscape of reading has been transformed by technology. But in many cases, we blame technology when we say our kids are not reading because of technology. From the evolution of traditional reading habits to digital formats, the integration of technology into literacy instruction has been profound. We, as teachers, we need to encourage and inspire our learners to use technology to develop reading, to use technology for reading purposes. Because you know what? Using interactive technology-based devices, like your tabs and your phones, and don't ask me, I don't know much about technology, but I do know that there are e-readers, etc. But it makes reading more engaging. You know, teachers, we always say, work from what the child loves. Kids love digital tools. If we can use those digital tools, those 20 iPads or 20 tablets that's hidden in the principal's office and kept under lock and key, teachers, you're going to make a difference when you go back to your school now. You're going to force them to unlock and to provide you with those tablets so that you can use it to develop reading and inspire your learners, because it does make reading more engaging and it does improve vocabulary and fluency. And the reading fluency and comprehension skills have notably improved among young people thanks to this technological advancement. The ease of accessing an extensive library of e-books, I know, can be very, very difficult. But at your libraries, consult your librarians, ask for the audio books, ask for the e-books, see whether your children, or whether you can access it on your smartphones and your computers, etc., because it will appeal to your learners, right? So, integrating technology into reading instruction, we can use the interactive storybooks, which you can find on, and look at this beautiful stories, the color, the graphics, it's beautiful, especially for our foundation-phase learners. So use the interactive storybooks. It will enhance engagement and provide auditory and visual support. You know what's so good about this is if your learners cannot read, they will be reading but also listening to what is being read. And that's going to impact their reading greatly. Then we can use text-to-speech software where we support struggling readers and provide some accessibility for them to look at a word and they say the word, and in that way they learn to read. Then there's the digital tools where we get students to write creatively and explore different forms of digital writing. So your reading is going to impact your writing. And then, of course, access online resources where they can listen to educational videos. They can play interactive games. And there are also reading assessments that can help you quite a bit. And we look at some examples. They are absolutely beautiful. They are colorful. These are all twinkle, but you need to be able to, I know, twinkle, you need to go online, you need to register, etc. Yes, we have all this, but teachers, we have tools in our classrooms. We have a creative mind. You have a creative mind. You have learners who can be creative. So we need to start using our classrooms as the most important tool. Because in your classroom, you have the space, you have the learner, and you have yourself as resources. So we ask ourselves then, what is the culture of reading? A reading culture is when you are able to create this environment where reading, it's just not reading, but where reading is celebrated, where it's appreciated, where it is respected. Now, how will you know when there's a reading culture in your classroom? Where reading culture exists, your learners will get up and go and read of their own free will, regularly. You won't have to tell them you can pick up a book and read. They will, out of their own get up, go to the reading corner, find a book or take a book out of the bag and read. Your students will select their own reading material they want to read at a time and a place of their choosing. This is what is so important, and we must provide the opportunity for that. These are the learners that are willing and active participants. They anticipate the satisfaction they'll get from picking up a book. And then also, teacher, there's what we call the Matthew effect. And this means that when one is competent in reading, one learns more and hence grows richer in knowledge and proficiency. Much like what Dr. Sue said earlier. So when you are more competent in reading, you're going to read more, you're going to become richer in knowledge, you're going to be more proficient. Conversely, when you are not competent in reading, you actually get poorer in the language proficiency over the years. So the rich gets richer and the poor gets poorer. That expression, even in reading, does carry a lot of weight. So that is why it's important for us to look at creating this culture of reading where our learners will be excited with the prospect of picking up a book and just learning. Now I know you're going to say there are going to be lots of problems. Like, for instance, I have limited time. Yes, foundation-phase teachers face time constraints. It makes it challenging for them to put aside enough time for reading instruction. I agree with that. Yes, there are very different learners in their classroom and they have to address all these learners different learners' needs. They have to do individualized support and differentiation. Yes, I agree with that. And yes, there's a lack of resources. There's limited access to high quality books and technology and other resources that can hinder the development of the reading culture. And I want to pause there, teachers, because I want to say to you, we want our kids to be positive readers. We need to be more positive in our attitude. I used to always say to my teachers, I don't want to be part of the problem. I don't want to focus on the problem. I want to be part of the solution. I want to focus on possible solutions. Teachers, you will be able to move mountains if you just focus on solutions, because you are the people in the classrooms. You can make the difference. You can teach the world how to do things differently if we can just focus on being part of the solution. So you have quite a responsibility, teachers. But in any case, we'll go on and look at, I'll try and give you some tips onto how you can build a reading culture in your classroom. Now, if you go to Google, Google is magic sometimes, eh? Just check up always on statistics and things, make sure it is correct. There is a gentleman called Pete the librarian. And Pete the librarian shares with us how we can create a culture of reading in our classrooms. And I just took some of Pete's advice and I added some of my own experience, and we together we built this hopefully a recipe for building a reading culture in your classroom. Now there are 4 ways that we can build this reading culture. And we start the first way with your actual environment, which means your actual classroom. Your actual classroom. And in your classroom, teachers, you need to understand that there are ways that we can change the way we do things. So first of all, just in your classroom, you can have engaging displays, you can have students involved, you can have the little things under construction, and you can have trending things. So where's this all going to happen? It's going to happen in your reading corner. The most important space in your classroom, teachers. Now, I know this shows a lavish reading corner. Lavish. But we can also do it in very small spaces. And I will show you that. So we need to transform our reading space so that it is engaging, it's welcoming. So fill it with colorful displays and comfortable seating. What are the advantages and the benefits? This is a quiet, calm space where your learners can come and sit and read. It's where children can enjoy books individually or in groups. It can be used even when children just want some quiet time or they want to break up from the larger group. It supports the development of literacy and it nurtures a love of reading from a very young age. Can you imagine your grade R's and grade 1s? Remember, teachers, it's not going to happen overnight. Your learners must be trained how to use this reading. And after a month or so, you're going to have it in the bag. So think of the solution, not the problem. Don't already sit and think, oh, my learners are going to go crazy and they're going to... No. Think of the solution. If you train them well and you give them opportunities little bit at a time, you're going to be able to enjoy your reading corner because your learners will be kept busy and functional all the time. This is also an area where you can celebrate the multilingual literature with your children and use a number of reading games to keep them engaged. Teacher, there's nothing better than giving your child a game to play with. They love it. So let's look at what should be in the reading corner. There should be books and series and games and toys and comics and tablets with ebooks and magazines and newspapers, advertisements, etc. And of course, if you don't have much space, let me just go back here. We want our reading corner to be the space that learners want to go and retreat to, right? So, as we said earlier, we want to look at how we can use the space productively. Now, if you have a small classroom, teachers, please look at this. This teacher has no space at all. But look how beautiful her reading corner looks. All she did was paint this little tree on the wall and put 3 shelves up and 3 pillows in the corner, right? And how can we do this? How can we use this kind of reading corner or any reading corner optimally? We can look at the trending, set up a trending or a bestseller display to show learners about the books. Now, you can have the bestseller for the week. You can just decide which books have been read the most. You put it up there. You put up there, just against the wall, a little page that says the book Boys Are Fun by John Simmons was read by James, Saini, and Mary in the class. And if they know their name is going to be there, they're going to read the book. But it's also a guide for others. Which book should I take? You know, those indecisive readers. Then there's Friends. This is the theme. The student built or the bestseller theme. And then you can also put something on the wall that says we are reading books about Friends. Sylvia, Jerry, Lisa, Robert, and Bernie read the book thus far. And then we also get students involved in creating this reading corner. So you can get maybe an old shelf. Teachers go and hunt in other classrooms, an old shelf that's just lying there. Bring it to your classroom and make magic with it. Get your kids to clean it and paint it and find a little space for it. Get them involved. And you can call this a project that's under construction. And there can be a manager of this project, etc. Also get your children to be part of creating the reading corner. They can make posters, etc. Right, teachers? This is an important recommendation. Visit Edulus at CTLI in Nooienfontein. You know CTLI at Nooienfontein, who gives the teachers workshops, etc. The library there is Edulus. Edulus is an amazing library. They have the most amazing people working in that library. They will help you. They will borrow you 100 books for your classroom free. They will tell you to send the books home. They'll get the books back. They will exchange the books for you. Please, teachers, you need to have a relationship with the librarian or one of the consultants at Edulus. And you just go there once, and after that, they will do whatever they can to give you whatever you need. Okay. So, teachers, we're looking at some must-haves for our reading corner. Here is also an URL that you can use to find some extra games. Teachers, there's so many of them. Make it welcoming, even if you don't have all the colors that can. If you have limited space, these cushions can be packed up, etc. But remember, our kids have fun while reading. So where possible, try to incorporate games right? So I'm going to have to go through this a little bit faster. This could be anything from invisible words. Just take a page, write words in a white crayon, and give it to your learners. They color over them and they read them. Wonderful, easy. Bingo questions. You give them little statements. Happens often. Here's the bingo card. That means frequently. Girls, boys, men, women, and babies, that's people. Comes after first, that's second. Not the same, that's different. Find the word between over there. They love this. They are reading. You are exposing them to new vocabulary. What more do you want? A simple game, teachers. Simple game. Right? So, let's look at, oh, baby, and please tell me that your children are not gonna love this, because I can guarantee you, and I've used it in my classroom, they are gonna go crazy about these games. Yeah, baby animals. What do we do here? They learn new words and their meanings, which can ultimately help them to communicate more effectively. So what's the baby of a sheep? If the answer is here, a lamb. So it is two across, L-A-M-B. Ah, beautiful. Teaching them to organize, to be systematic. Oh, it's awesome, teachers. Developing vocabulary. Here you're doing the animal and the babies that our children struggle to remember. They'll remember it now, I promise you. Don't you? And I know many of you sit with word searches. I know you sit with word searches. I do. You know, I'm still of the old people who still get their Argus delivered every evening. First thing I go to is the word search. So it increases your students' knowledge and it develops new vocabulary, right? So here's all the new vocabulary and they just have to find it. An exciting way to get them to read words and to get to know new words. And this is also awesome, jumbled up words. This is a Christmas word scramble because I did this at the end of last year. I presented it. But you could have an Easter word scramble, right? And it could be eggs and bunnies and rabbits and whatever, right? These are exciting games you can use in your classrooms, teacher. It's going to make a difference, I promise you. Another one is the roll the die. Now, you know, we say we don't have resources. Here, I'm giving you a net. This is a net of a cube. Mathematics teachers, you should know this. This is the cube's net. You can print this, put a whole lot on a page, make copies, put it on cardboard, paste it down well, get your learners to cut it out, and then to fold it and put it together, and this is what you get. And you will have a whole lot of die in your classrooms that you can use. Or you go to Osmond's. I don't know if you are all from Cape Town, but to Osmond's, which is somewhere in the Lansdowne area, and they sell these packs of about 8 die for 5 rand. Right? Don't teachers be part of the solution. And you can use buttons for counters. You don't need to have these fancy things. But your learner starts. So they start and they throw a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Mention 5 round objects. Right? Or you get now here we are getting them to develop their vocabulary. We always say our children don't have enough vocabulary. They're going to take from the geography, they're going to say the earth. They're going to take from science, they're going to say whatever. They're going to take from maths, they're going to say a circle. They're going to, across the curriculum, this is where you're going to make that magic, right? So that's a wonderful game that you can play with them. And then, of course, dominoes, teachers. Oh, to teach language rules. Awesome. So here, you're just looking at the free short and long E. Screen, the long E sound. Seen, the long E sound. B, short sound. E, short sound. Self and shed. Beep and beef. Right? So you developing this skill of them being able to differentiate between long and short sounds. Then we have this dominoes. This is fantastic, teachers, because here you're teaching them parts of speech. Here's an adjective. So you find a domino that has an adjective on here, smelly. Now on the other side of smelly is a pronoun. So you find a domino with a pronoun. There's we. Now on the other side of that we have an adjective. So now you have to find a domino with an adjective. There's hard. Awesome. You are teaching your children what's a noun, what's a verb, what's a pronoun, what's an adjective. Fantastic way to teach them. So teachers, these are just awesome. And then we have what we call the footprints. So if you have 5 new words you're teaching them this week, or 6 new words, then you cut out these footprints, put the names on the footprints, and they come into the classroom. They have to walk on the footprints and say the names. Or what I did in my classroom, I took newsprint, and on the side of my classroom, I just painted a little river. Something like this. I tried to find something to show you, but it's on newsprint. And then what I did was I put bricks on the newsprint. And on top of the bricks, I put the words. And as they come in, they had to tread on the bricks carefully and say the word. And if they didn't know the word, they had to, until they get it, they had to sound it out, etc. And if they didn't know the word at all, then they actually fall in the water. And you can have exciting little things. You can change it and make a tree and climb it. Ah, they are so, put apples in the tree with the new words on, and they can pick the apples, anything. There's enough amazing ideas for you to use with their words. And then the fishing, handmade rod with strings. Now I know back when I started teaching in the foundation phase in 1981. So we did fishing already. So this is an old one that you might know. Put either a paper clip at the back. If you haven't got money to buy these pins, just put a paper clip on the back and a magnet on the end of the string, and you let them catch the fish, and they must read the words. Awesome. And puzzles. Teachers, you know, children love puzzles. Now look at these. And these are a beautiful way to teach suffixes and prefixes here. Why are our children saying the dog is not healthy? Why do they not say the dog is unhealthy? Right? Why are they saying the task is not finished? Why are they not saying the task is unfinished? And in this way, we can teach them prefixes, suffixes. We can teach them synonyms and antonyms, etc. And look at this beautiful thing. Here you can use your life skills lessons, and you can, this is now more for grade 6 and 7, but for life skills, a new word, have the picture, have a definition, and have an example. And they put that together as a puzzle. Awesome, teachers. So we look at snakes and ladders. Ah, man, all you need to do is take some paper, write words on it, paste it on here, put it on with press stick or whatever, and you have a beautiful snakes and ladder board. Now the learner throws 5, so he has to hop 5 times, but he has to read all the words. Does, but, sit, who, see. Check it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, that's wrong. Start by 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put the button there. Now he has to read it. Does, but, sit, who. If he gets 1 word wrong, he must move back 1. If he gets 2 words wrong, he must move back 2. Whatever you decide. It's your creative mind put to the test. You can decide what you want to do. But these are, if you're going to get this PowerPoint, teachers, make these copies, use it in your classroom. It's going to make a difference, I promise you. Okay, here's another one, rabbit race. Start here, roll again. If you get the roller 1, you must roll again. You must read those words, or you must make a sentence with the words, make a sentence with one of the words, etc. all about reading, about vocabulary development, etc. So be creative, teachers. Here are templates that you can use. You can go onto Google. You can find these templates. They are so easy to find. Love this. I love this library cards. I want you to really look at the library cards, teachers. When your children have read a book, they can become part of this. Where library cards say that they've read the same, you go back to your wall chart where 5 people read the same book, you can say, okay, let's, or different books. So we cut out these cards and we shuffle it and each one draws a card. So if I draw the card, who is the author of my book I'm reading, I must be able to give the author. Imagine grade 3s doing this. It's fantastic. Imagine grade 2s doing this. Why shouldn't they know who the author of a book is? Why shouldn't they know who the characters in the book are? Teachers, we must not underestimate those little minds. They are still critical thinkers. They say, when you send a child to school, you dumb them down as critical thinkers. We want to build them up. And because they are born critical thinkers, they question all the time. And suddenly when they come to school, they stop questioning. So teachers, we need to get that back. Child opens up and asks, what adjectives would you use to describe the ending of the book? Isn't that awesome? And this is their own private conversations. So that's a really beautiful way. So now the second way, the second part of the environment is your actual classroom. Yes, you've got your reading corner. All those things are in your reading corner. Now you have your actual classroom. So teachers, you can put up posters, like your science posters. They read. You can put up anchor charts. Look at this. Grade 1, 2, and 3. Look at this, please. You've read the 3 Little Pigs. Put up the characters. How many characters in the story? 4 characters. Who are the characters in the story? The wolf, the 3 little pigs. Look at this one, the 3 goats, the characters and the setting. It happens on a bridge across a river. So please, teachers, you can be doing this with your grade 1s, 2s, and 3s. It's absolutely amazing. And then integrate across learning areas, teachers. Here we've got mathematics. Display your learners' book. Ask your learners, why do you think it's important to read? Look at all these beautiful discussions here. And this, take the books in your library corner. Make a color copy of the covers and just create this beautiful books that are available in your classroom. And then also motivate your learners. This I saw on a teacher's classroom door. And it says, when you enter this classroom, you are scientists, you are authors, you are important, you are learners, etc., etc., etc. Lessons with laughter. Isn't that beautiful? Also, this is something we did when we were teachers back in the early 80s. We would have these labels on everything in our classrooms. I hope you still have them, because here you teach children to spell. You teach them to read. Okay? So now the second way you can build a reading culture in your classroom is by reading. Let's see what this is all about. It says read to students just 10 minutes a day, read around the curriculum, use DEAR, lead by example, and book teasers. Let's go. Book teasers. Read an exciting excerpt at the start of a week, each week. Or, look at this. Cover your book with just a little bit out to tantalize them and put it in the reading corner. Or open a book on a certain page which will encourage them to go and read. Teachers, read aloud. Read to all your students with expression, with drama, with joy, and they will also become good loud readers. And lead by example. Be a silent reader. Tell them, guys, 2 minutes. Go sit on the mat as the teacher, or sit by the door, or change where you are. Change your position. Go down to their level and just let them read silently and they follow. Beautiful. And then there are interactive classroom reading activities that you can reuse. Finish the sentence. You write half the sentence that the learners have given you. I'm leaving on vacation and bringing. And they add in my dog. And you add it on the board until you have a beautiful paragraph. So your child and you are modeling reading and writing. And then also, one learner reads a text, tells it to the other person in the ear, and they whisper in the one behind, and they go back to the last person. And then the last person writes the text on the board, and then you compare the two texts. So it shows it will develop our children's listening skills. Then we have DEAR, which is drop everything and read. And the rules of drop everything and read is you read your own book, you sit by yourself, you stay in one spot, you read silently, you read the whole time. Why? Because DEAR helps to develop lifelong readers amongst our children. It increases the comprehension skills. It builds vocabulary and background knowledge. And it improves writing skills. And it creates that classroom community. So you train your children and you say, right, DEAR. And everybody drops everything and reads. Beautiful way to get them to read. Another way to create a reading culture in your classrooms is through events and programs. Author visits, book week, literature festivals, Roald Dahl Day, make your own book awards, book clubs, reading retreats, guest readers, holiday reading bags, rewards. How do we do this? Give our children access to books from a young age, not only to help them to become illiterate, but to maximize their potential. So use a little crown to crown a reader of the week. Make your own book awards. If you can afford it, buy cheap little badges. Teachers, book clubs. Start up book clubs in your classroom. Because this is how you're going to motivate them. So you tell them you come 10 minutes earlier in the morning. You decide where you want to sit. You want to sit under that tree, or you want to sit in that section of the classroom, and you're going to read. And you know what? This is the starting point to getting your learners to give a book talk. So now you teach them how to prepare for a book talk, and you show them how to give a book talk. And there you have your oral presentations that are just awesome. And then teachers, guest readers. Please invite special guests to read to your students. Invite your parents. But wouldn't it be wonderful if you got a letter that said, "Dear parent, we would like to invite you to be a guest reader in our classroom on such and such a date. You are welcome to read a book of your choice. You are also welcome to do a craft or an activity, or even bring a snack. Please let us know if you are willing and available. We would love to have you." All parents are not going to refuse that invitation. Get them in to read to your learners. Get them in to manage the book club. Get teachers, they are available. It's just, they say it's not always what you ask. It is how you ask that makes the difference. Then have your little reading retreats, teachers. Let your children just sit and read. You have your reading lessons every day. One day you decide they're going to have a reading retreat. So you can say, okay, once every 2 weeks, we're going to have a reading retreat. What is it going to be on a Friday? What is it? You must manage your reading time, teachers. Make your own book awards and give it to your learners, and celebrate book week. Just get them excited. Okay. So now we're going on to another way we can get our learners to, how we as teachers can build our reading retreat. Our culture, reading culture, and that is with our students. Remember, we've done with the environment, we've done with reading, we've done with displays, etc. Now we're going to see how can we build a reading culture with our students. Book suggestion poll, library squad, share your favorite books, suggestion boxes, bridge the age gap. So let's look at what that is all about. Share your favorites. Teacher and students show and tell. You know all about the show and tell. You probably do it better than what I can do it. Teachers, get them to show and tell their favorite book. Doesn't always have to be something that happened over the weekend. Get them to share their favorite book. That's important. Bridge the age gap, teachers. Get your parents or your children's older siblings involved. You know what my colleague did here? This is not my work. She did this. She was teaching a third year group of students, and she gave the teddy bear to this young man who was in his third year at CPUT. And because they were doing teaching of reading, and she told him, take it home and go and read to the little ones at home and take a photograph. And this is the photograph he came back with. And if you see this little boy's eyes, do you see their attention? Not even the photograph drew their attention away. But he used this cuddly little toy to get them enticed. So every time they read a book, they could hang onto this toy. So that's what we call reading by association. Beautiful, teachers. Then there's the suggestion box. Put a suggestion box in your class. You think because they grade 1, they don't have suggestions. They can ask their parents to help them, and they come and put it into the box. And have a library squad. Imagine those little ones of the library squad. You know, even if you can buy the color of your school berets or something and put it on them when it's library time, and oh, they'll be so proud. So the library squad can be rotated throughout the year. These teams take responsibility to care for the library. They encourage others to read. They manage the recommendations and the suggestions, make sure a teacher reads it. And they take it from the classmates and make sure that they hand in suggestions and any other chores that's expected in the library. So teachers, these are your learners. I always feel very, very sad when I read this poem. I want you to listen and watch. The poem's name is I'm All Mixed Up. I'm all mixed up. I need help from you. How do I know why the sky is blue? I do not know. I wish I knew. Is my sister aged 4 or 2? I am named Marie. She is named B. We eat red berries, water at the sea. I have a lot of work to do. If I'll sew a button on the coat for you, you'll wear, I'll sit on that chair. I'll wait right there. I'm all mixed up. I need help from you. Can you choose the right words? See what you can do. Teachers, this is a reality for many of our students. This is a reality for many of our students. And when we get them involved in activities like you've just seen now, you can cut out a lot of this. That is the help your children need. So we conclude by asking, how can we create a reading culture in our classrooms? And how can this reading culture help you as a teacher? This culture is going to build a positive community in your classroom, and they will share an enthusiasm and a love for reading. This culture is going to breed capable and committed readers. This culture is going to improve your student outcomes, and this culture is going to improve your learner's ability to concentrate and boost learner well-being. And it will strengthen cognitive skills, which eventually will lead to academic success across the curriculum. Teachers, thank you for being here today. Thank you. Thank you, because it shows me you are the teachers who want to make the change. And I'm very happy that I could share some of my experience and some of my research with you. So I say thank you to you for the amazing work that you do and for the amazing work that you are still going to do. I do wish you well, and I do hope that you are going to make magic. And I hope, teachers, that throughout this workshop, you have realized that you can use your time optimally. Time shouldn't be limited because you can work across the curriculum. The whole day, from the time you get into that classroom, you are reading. And you are reading because you're doing it in life skills, you're doing it in mathematics, you're doing it all over. So be part of the solution. Use your time. And then, of course, we said lack of resources was another challenge. You can see that it's so easy to make simple resources that will cost you absolutely nothing. And the other one was, oh, I can't remember now. But teachers, we need to make the difference, right? And the fact that you are here today tells me that you want to make a difference. So I thank you, I salute you, I wish you well. Thank you so much to Macmillan. All right, thank you, Kayla.
Thank you, Dr. Phillips. That was
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. And I can just tell from all the wonderful comments in our chat box that they definitely enjoyed it. Thank you, thank you,
Good.
thank you so
I
much.
am so happy.
We have one question so far.
Yes.
It just says here, good day. I love the idea, but how do you do it with an overcrowd
Yeah,
class?
teachers, we need, and I know that is a reality for many of you. And that is the reason why I showed you the one slide where you just against the wall, just make a painting and put a little box on the floor and throw your books in there. Teachers start somewhere. And I know, I remember a teacher who strung a line across her classroom, like a washing line. And she would take the pictures of the books that she had in the library and just peg it onto that line so children could see those pictures and they could know go to the teacher and say, I'd like to read that book. And she would go and get it out of a little box under her table. So teachers, we just have to be creative. Please, even if it's a little box under your table and just a painting on the wall, please make the effort. And because you're here, I know you're going to make the effort. Because you're spending this time here because you want to change things in your classroom. I hope that answers the question.
Definitely. I definitely agree, Dr. Phillips. Yeah, I think overall we just have very positive comments,
Is it?
feedback,
That's
just thanking you
wonderful.
so much. They've
Oh,
learned a
that's so
lot.
sweet.
Just positive feedback all around. Thank you so much.
Oh, who's crying here? Oh, you're gonna make me cry. Who's that, Margina Kluti? That's so sweet. Oh, thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
Yeah,
I'll
so
take some
teachers,
time to
just a
read all
note,
of
we
these.
will be sharing the recording as well as the PowerPoint presentation. So please worry not, because you are in attendance with us, we automatically have your details. So in a more convenient time, we'll be definitely sharing that with you. You will receive all this wonderful information, and we hope that you'll be able to implement it into your
Mm,
teaching, all this wonderful resources that Dr. Phillips shared with us today.
thank you so much.
All
That's
right.
awesome.
Thank you so
Uh,
much, Dr. Phillips. Any closing remarks?
I'm a bit confused. Is it only 25 to 4 now?
Yes, that's correct.
Oh my word. And I think my time must be wrong on this thing. Okay, we can chat some more. If the teachers would like. Is there any other slide you want me to go back to? Um, maybe. Is that okay with you, Hamutso?
Let me just see. I think we are over time. We
Oh, we are
definitely
over.
made,
Oh,
yeah, we
yes, it's half past
definitely
three.
no, we
We are.
definitely you covered everything within the
Okay,
time, and yeah.
okay.
So I think we're good with that. So yeah, Jeff definitely will be sharing all the information with our wonderful teachers, and we hope that they'll
Oh,
be implementing all of them in their classrooms.
awesome, awesome. I do hope it makes a difference in your classroom, teachers. But remember, stay positive. Always say to yourself, I want to be part of the solution. What can I do differently? But I trust that you're going to make magic. All the best. Thank you. Thank you, Hamotso.
Definitely.
Thank you, Alet. Thank you to Macmillan also for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr.
Okay.
Phillips. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Have a lovely afternoon further.
Bye
Cheers. Bye
bye.
bye.
Take care.
Why? You haven't asked.